Hello and welcome to Charter Local Edition Northwest. I'm Dana Cowley and my guest today is our Republican Representative Doc Hastings from the 4th District. Doc, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
You have served us for so many years in this district in Congress.
Well, it's been a privilege to serve Central Washington for as long as I have. There's been a lot of changes that's going on, and frankly, maybe that time has really paid off because I have the privilege now of being the chairman of the House Natural Resources Committee.
Speaking of irrigation and agriculture, we have a very interesting subject that's come up involving the White Bluffs Bladder Pod.
Right.
And it's a flower that people, until just recently, very few of us had ever heard of. I certainly hadn't heard of it in 20 years of covering news around here, and now it's become a major issue for our farmers.
Well, I've lived in Franklin County virtually all my life, and I've never heard of the bladder pod.
I'm not the only one.
But the committee also has jurisdiction over the Endangered Species Act, and this is a result of a massive settlement in 2011, 2 years ago, of up to some 700 species that could be potentially listed on the Endangered Species Act. And this was one of those, had low priority. Nobody locally here was notified. The county commissioners were not notified, no landowners were notified, yet it would impact upwards of 2,000 acres in some private land if this listing went through. The Endangered Species Act, unfortunately, to those that are not impacted by it, is something that is, I guess for lack of a better word, very sacred. Nobody wants species to go away.
Right.
Nobody wants that. But you have to have due diligence to make sure that people are not adversely affected by a listing that is questionable. The bladder pod, in my mind, is a questionable listing. And we have to, the idea behind the Endangered Species Act ought to be to recover species. Yet when you look at what's been going on for the last 25 years, the recovery aspect has been abysmal.
And then the other thing I thought was most interesting in researching this was that the people opposed to it ran some DNA testing to determine that they didn't believe that this was a rare or endangered bladder pod. And this is something that most of your local law enforcement agencies can go down and handle in a very short period of time to handle a case. So why would we not be using this DNA testing to determine the core root makeup of these species before we have any kind of listings?
That is a very good question, and I asked the Director of Fish and Wildlife why that process wasn't done, and the answer, I have to say, was not satisfactory to me. They said they use other processes to look at that, but this to me looked pretty darn convincing. But that's why, and now keep in mind, again, bigger picture, getting away from the bladder pod for a moment. This settlement was for up to 700 species across the country.
So this could have a huge impact on business and agriculture.
Well, any place where some of these potential listings are, it could affect our energy industry, for example, nationwide, in some of these listings where we have oil and gas and coal. So, but if this is the due diligence of what's happening, then obviously it cries for some sort of reform, and that's why we formed that working group.
Excellent, Doc. Thank you so much.
Thank
we
you
really
very much.
appreciate you coming to join us,
My pleasure.
Representative Doc Hastings, and thank you.
You bet.
Thank you for watching. This is Charter Local Edition Northwest.